Now, back to BioCentury This Week.
We're on Capitol Hill talking about pediatric cancer with Representatives Chris Van Hollen and Michael McCaul, and with patient advocate Nancy Goodman. Nancy, Creating Hope Act, it was your baby. What was it? What was the problem you were trying to solve? And very quickly, how did it do it?
Thank you. The problem is that there is almost no drug development specifically for kids with cancers. Kids' cancers are different from adult cancers. So what we did is we created a voucher system. If a drug company develops a drug specifically for kids with cancer, the FDA gives them a voucher. The company can use it or sell it, and the voucher comes with rights to a faster FDA review on any other drug, perhaps a very large market drug.
So Representative McCaul, Van Hollen, you get people coming to you every day with ideas like this, and most of them don't go anywhere. How did this one happen?
Well, it was she's the author. We were just the vehicles for this idea. It turned out to be one of the most exciting challenges I've had in my tenure in Congress to try to get this passed. We had some opposition initially, but we got the childhood cancer advocates on the Hill, and then passed it with broad-based support at the end of the day. I do think the pilot program, and it was passed as a pilot, has proved to be successful. As Nancy mentioned, the first voucher has been sold now for $67 million, so industry recognizes it, as does the FDA, that this actually works. So what we'd like to do is in the next Congress make this a permanent program.
And I guess then the real question then is this the exception that proves the rule that it's impossible for both parties to work together and actually get something done in Congress, or can there be a follow-on? You know, are we going to have more bipartisan collaboration on pediatric cancer?
Well, I think Mike and I look forward to continuing to work with each other and Nancy and the advocates to do whatever we can. I mean, if Congress can't come to agreement on what we can do for kids with cancer, then it's a really sad day. But as this legislation proves, we were able to do that. And to the extent that we identify other creative solutions that require legislation or require us to urge the FDA or the NIH to take action, we're on the same page. That's what the caucus is all about.
Mm-hmm. So Nancy, you got them to pass the Creating Hope Act. What's next on your agenda? We already talked about modifying the PREA. What else is on your agenda?
I think generally the issue, Steve, is still access to drugs, whether it be drugs developed specifically for kids or drugs developed for adults that could potentially benefit kids. Mm-hmm. And we're looking at both regulatory reform, legislative action, and administrative action.
I know that neither one of you are on the Energy and Commerce Committee, but they're working on this path to 21st century cures. We've had Fred Upton and Diane DeGette on the show talking about that. Do you expect that the Childhood Cancer Caucus will work with them to try to get legislation to move forward?
Absolutely. And the legislation that we all worked on together, the Creating Hope Act, was actually something we ended up attaching to another piece of legislation that had to do with the Food and Drug Administration. So what they're doing in the Energy and Commerce does provide us an opportunity to have a vehicle to do some of the things we'd like to do.
Hopefully, as Congressman McCaul noted earlier, updating PREA could be a terrific bipartisan effort again.
Mm-hmm. I think also expanded access and the compassionate use would be an area that would benefit children probably more than any other segment of the population, but it would benefit all cancer patients across the country. I think that's something I'd really like to see move forward next Congress.
Representative Van Hollen, Representative McCaul, you finished last week the summit meeting for the Congressional Childhood Cancer Caucus. Who talked there? What are the highlights? What are the things that are on the caucus's mind?
Well, there are lots of issues. It was a very exciting summit. Dr. Francis Collins from the NIH spoke. I'm proud to represent the congressional districts that is home to NIH. But what I want to say to anybody watching this, please check to see if your member of Congress is part of our Childhood Cancer Caucus, because the more members that are participating, the more voices that rally behind these causes, the stronger that we can be as a bipartisan group.
It was very successful. We had Dr. DePino, president of MD Anderson. My wife serves on the board of visitors there. We had the chief medical officer for Johnson & Johnson. But to see the parents, the survivors, quite frankly, the courage to come forward and advocate when they've gone through a tragic event and turn that into a positive. That's what's so inspiring to me, to see these kids who have survived but also talk to the parents whose children did not survive. And I think that's the hardest thing to accept. But you see, again, the courage of these families and advocates coming forward to make a difference.
That is actually an amazing thing. Of course, Nancy is an example of someone who's overcome the tragedy and keeps on going, right?
Well, one of the most exciting things about the terrific summit, Steve, was that the community of people who've lost kids or whose kids have suffered from pediatric cancer are really coming together. There's now the Coalition Against Childhood Cancer, there's the Alliance Against Childhood Cancer, and these umbrella groups are doing great things to make our community much more effective. So
I'm wondering, some of these issues, there has to be some kind of an adversarial relationship, for example, between the advocates perhaps and regulators on some issues, or between advocates and drug companies. How much kind of conflict is there, and how much collaboration is there?
So I can tell you first, with the FDA, we are very thankful for everything the FDA has done, and we view them as real leaders out in front in promoting drug development strategies that will help kids, and we're very grateful for them. With respect to drug companies, we understand that their fiduciary duty is to the shareholders, and we want to work with them to find ways that they can be successful and our kids can get treatments.
Okay, well, thanks very much.